by far the biggest set of issues we have, and you and I have talked about a bunch of issues like this over the years, is like, it's just, okay, you have some classifier it's trying to find, say, like drug content, right? People decide, okay, it's like the opioid epidemic is a big deal. We need to do a better job of cracking down on drugs and drug sales, right? I don't want people dealing drugs on our networks. So we build a bunch of systems that basically go out and try to automate finding people who are dealing drugs. And then you basically have this question, which is how precise do you want to set the classifier? So do you want to make it so that the system needs to be 99% sure that someone is dealing drugs before taking them down? Do you want it to be 90% confident, 80% confident? And then those correspond to amounts of, I guess the statistics term would be recall. What percent of the bad stuff are you finding? So if you require 99% confidence, then maybe you only actually end up taking down 20% of the bad content. Whereas if you reduce it and you say, okay, we're only going to require 90% confidence, now maybe you can take down 60% of the bad content. But let's say you say, no, we really need to find everyone who's doing this bad thing. And it doesn't need to be as severe as dealing drugs. It could just be, it could be any kind of content of any kind of category of harmful content. You start getting to some of these classifiers might have 80, 85% precision in order to get 90% of the bad stuff down. But the problem is if you're at 90% precision, that means 1 out of 10 things that the classifier takes down is not actually problematic. And if you filter, if you kind of multiply that across the billions of people who use our services every day, that is millions and millions of posts that are basically being taken down that are innocent, and upon review, we're going to look at it and be like, this is ridiculous that this thing got taken down, which, I think you've had that experience, and we've talked about this for a bunch of stuff over time. And but it really just comes down to this question of where do you want to set the classifiers? So one of the things that we're going to do is basically set them to be require more confidence, which is this trade-off. It's going to mean that we will maybe take down a smaller amount of the harmful content, but it will also mean that we'll dramatically reduce the amount of people whose accounts we're taking off for a mistake, which is just a terrible experience, right? It's like, okay, you're going about your day, and then one day you wake up and you're like, oh, my WhatsApp account just got deactivated because it's connected to a Facebook account, and the Facebook account is or like I'm using it on the same phone as a Facebook account where like we made some enforcement mistake and thought you were doing something bad that you weren't because our classifiers were set to too low of precision.
Has that happened before?
Oh, yeah.
Where their WhatsApp app got canceled as well?
Yeah, because there are a bunch of...
So if your Facebook app gets taken out, like say if you have a Facebook and you have like a sock puppet account, and the sock puppet account, you post offensive memes and you're generally gross.
Yeah.
If you get caught for that, does your WhatsApp get killed?
Not for memes, but go back to like a very severe thing. Like let's say someone is...
Terrorists. Let's say the most severe.
Sure, yeah. Okay. Let's say someone is like terrorist content, they're planning some attack.
Right. Okay,
so we take down their account, right? But then let's say that person can just go then sign up with another account. Right, I think like,
How does WhatsApp get connected to that though?
Oh, well, if it's, we run these different services, and if they're on the same phone, it's basically, it's one thing that, it's basically regulators or governments will come to us and say, okay, you're clearly not doing enough if you kick someone off for terrorism, and then they can just like sign up for another account on the phone.
Right.
Okay. They also think, okay, well, we're not doing enough if we deactivate their Facebook account because they're like planning a terrorist attack, but we let them use all our other services.
Right.
Right.
If you're aware. Yeah.
Yeah. So if our systems think that someone is a terrorist, then you probably need to deactivate their access to all the different accounts.
Yeah, they can't get on Threads.
Threads, cool. Instagram, So
that makes sense.
So you can understand how you get there, but then you just get to this question around the precision and the confidence level, and then you're just making all these mistakes at scale, and it's just unacceptable. But I think it's a very hard calculation of like where do you want to be, because on the one hand, like I get it why people kind of come to us and they're like, no, you need to do a better job finding more of the terrorism or the drugs and all this stuff. But over time, the technology will get better and it'll get more precise. But at any given point in time, that's the choice that we have to make, is do we want to make more mistakes erring on the side of just like blowing away innocent people's accounts?
Right.
Or do we want to get a somewhat higher percent of the bad stuff off? And I think that there's some balance that you need to strike on this.
We were having a conversation yesterday, Mel Gibson and I, about how that can get weird. Or was it Theo? It might have been Theo. I think it was Theo. Where that can get weird because I think, like, if you're a person and you work at some accounting firm, but you like posting about stuff, but you don't want it to come back and reflect on your life, you want to shit post, you want to post jokes, you want to be silly, you should be able to be anonymous. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think just because you state your opinion, people should be able to search where you sleep. That doesn't make any sense to me. But if you're going to allow anonymous accounts, you're definitely going to open up the door to bad actors having enormous blocks of accounts where they can use either AI or just programs where they have like specific answers. I'm sure you've seen that before. It's come up on Twitter multiple times where they've found hundreds of sock puppet accounts tweeting the exact same thing. So you've literally word for word, even certain words in caps, like either people are copy or pasting it, or there's an email campaign that's getting legitimate people to do it, or these are fake people. You're going to have, if you're going to have anonymous accounts, which I think you should, because I think whistleblowers, I think the benefits of anonymous reporting on important things that the general public needs to know about, especially whistleblower type stuff, you have to have some ability to be anonymous. But if you're going to do that, you're also going to have the possibility that these aren't real people, that these are paid actors, these are paid people, or not people at all, or they're running programs, and they're doing this to try to sway public opinion about very important issues.